everybody. My name is Brianna Hart, and welcome to my YouTube channel. And I have with me Mrs. L'Oreal Porte.
Hey y'all.
My discipleship sister. And we are so excited. You guys really asked some really dope questions for our Q&A, and we're just going to dive right into it. So, you ready?
I am.
So all these questions have to do with relationships God's way before the I do. And question number 1 is, I feel like most godly relationships happen fast, like yours. But did you ever feel like y'all were moving too fast, or wonder if y'all should wait a little bit longer?
Okay, so to be honest, this was my favorite question. Me and my husband sat down and we talked about it, and we both agreed like our timing was our timing. And so we didn't feel like we were moving too fast just because we were both in a season where we were pretty much comfortable being single. So we were pretty much moving on a, whatever happens type of basis, but we were being intentional in our dating season, the little dating season we did have before he knew like, okay, this is who I'm going to marry. And I can agree. I have seen a lot of godly relationships that take off, and within a year they're married, starting on their first kid, that sort of thing. But there are also those godly relationships that they date for 8 years, and they're strong enough and mature enough to make God the center, still not have sex before marriage, and truly date God's way in that length of time. Now, I know with us, that would have ruined our testimony had we tried to wait 8 years. I mean, just to be honest, we knew our maturity level. We knew where we were as far as sexual relationships were going. We knew we both were celibate, but we also knew, okay, I really like you, you really like me. We know we're going to get married. So let's not wait this thing out longer than we need to. So that's what kind of made us go ahead and make the decision like, okay, we're both mature enough to know that, yes, there are going to be problems that come. Yes, there will be different situations that we will have to navigate through, but we can do that together. The key thing is we were going to be committed to each other. And so that's kind of what based our decision. Then on top of that, of course, we had marriage counseling. And so, and that was here at the church with our pastor. And once he gave us the go, he was like, I'm ready to marry y'all this week. So that pretty much confirmed it. Yeah, that pretty much confirmed it for us. Like, okay, if this is God's timing, it's not our timing. This is truly God's timing. Whether it's 1 year or 9 years, the key thing to doing it God's way is to truly make God your center. You're going to pray together. You're going to go to church together. As far as sex goes, you put it on the table. It's not going to happen. If we're doing this God's way, God said wait. And so it all boils down to your maturity level and how you think you can handle that. Now, if both of you are mature enough to wait longer than the year, 2 years, 3 years, then by all means do it, because it's still going to be God's way.
So basically what you're saying is don't compare your relationship to someone else.
Exactly.
So what one person and their significant other is doing doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be your testimony either. So learn to just stay in your lane and don't compare your season with someone else.
Right.
And you just don't know like their situation or the things that they have gone through. So that's really good. I really like that. Okay, so question number 2. It says, when dating God's way, how do you establish boundaries in a new courtship or relationship? So for example, if you go out on a date, do you tell each other straight up that, hey, I'm not having sex before marriage, or is this something that should be discussed further on?
I would say put it out there. You put all of your boundaries out there in the beginning, because at that point, that person's going to either be like, okay, yeah, I feel the same way, or they're going to say, you know what, that's too much. I'm not looking for that. And that lets you know you don't waste time. Literally the first day that we sat down and really had a conversation, really was outside in the parking lot after church one day. We stood up there for 4 hours talking. And in that 4 hours, I kind of put out what I was looking for. And we weren't even talking to each other as if we wanted to date each other. We were just having general conversation about past relationships. It was actually us and another guy. And we were all just kind of talking about our history of relationships. And in that, we just put it out there. Hey, I'm celibate. Hey, I'm not looking for this. I'm not looking for that. I am looking for this. You have to pray. You have to go to church. Like, all of those things came out. And, listening to his and he was listening to mine, it was like, okay, yeah, this might work. And so once it became a thing that we were going to date, we sat down and had that conversation again. Okay, look, I know I said it before in a general setting, but this is what it is. I am not having sex before marriage. I am going to church every day. I do serve in church, so you need to serve in church. Like, we put all of those things out there.
How long were you single before meeting your husband?
I was single, as in not dating anyone completely, from September of 2016 up until I met him June 2017. So, not completely a full year.
Yeah.
9 months. But in that 9 months, you know, previously to that 9 months of me being single, I had went through this little rough patch in my dating season where I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm truly giving myself to God. I don't have time for this anymore. I'm not about to be played anymore. Like, I'm really about to settle down with God first. And then if he should bring somebody, cool. But if not, I'm okay with that. And I think that's a big key part in being single that people have to get to, that they feel like they get to, but then they start seeing other people in a relationship and it's like, I want that so bad. You know, you can't be like that. You really have to be comfortable with dating yourself. Take yourself to the movies, take yourself out to eat.
Hello.
You know, love on yourself and love on God first before you try to invite somebody in to do it for you. Because that's how you get lost. That's how you start, you know, taking whatever comes rather than being picky and, you know, setting standards. You go for whatever. So I was single for 9 months, and in the 9 months, I truly was curving everybody. Anybody who would come to me, hey, you want to go to the movies? Hey, you want to go on a date? I was, no, thank you, no, thank you. Because I was serious about getting to know God more and getting to know myself more.
And pastor always says, like, hurt people hurt people.
Exactly.
And so if you get out of a relationship to just get into another one just to have that companionship, you're really not helping yourself or that other person either. You're just hindering your healing process so that one day you can get in that God-sent relationship, because then you're just ultimately like missing your blessing.
Exactly, because had I come out of that relationship or situationship I did in the end of 2016 and entered another one before the beginning of 2017, I would have completely ruined, you know, whoever it was that I would have met in that time, because I would have been petty, still in heart because of what happened in the last situation. Then, you know, just with the closeness of the situation and who the people were, it just would have been super awkward in that moment. So I was like, okay, I really got to take time for me and God. I can't invite anybody in this but me and him.
So what was your biggest struggle during your waiting period? So I guess this could be either just like your singleness or like waiting as far as like waiting to have sex or marriage. They didn't specify in this question, but it was
I'll touch on both. So in my single season, the biggest thing for me was keeping myself busy and staying in the Word and, you know, not looking at social media and looking at other people's relationship. Like I said, that can cause you to long for that, and then you end up not being, you know, true to yourself and getting what you deserve, but rather you fall for anything. And so I think the main thing was, okay, if I felt lonely, I'm going to take myself to the movies. If I felt like I needed companionship, I'm going to talk to my daughter, I'm going to talk to my mom. I'm going to start journaling, and journaling really helps. That was a big thing for me during my single season, is I would write things down. And one thing I did that would always kind of give me this hope that, you know, somebody was coming for me, I wrote down a spouse list. I went through the Bible, I found out, well, I picked, you know, scriptures that were pertinent to marriage and courtship and all of that. And then I wrote down a spouse list, and in my spouse list, it had all the characteristics that I wanted my future husband to have. And those things weren't like, you know, tall, fine, dread, you know, none of that type of stuff. But I started with Corinthians, love is patient, kind, you know, that sort of thing. And I started with that list, and then I went from there. So it grew into like understanding and honest and those types of things. So that really helped me in my single season. Once we knew we were getting married and we got engaged, the hardest thing was going from I'm single to now I'm engaged, but I'm still not married. So, I mean, we never slipped up and had sex. So, I mean, that just goes to show maturity on both of our parts, because we were going to be true to that. But we did, like, spend the night with each other, but we never slept in the same bed. But it was those types of things that was like, okay, we have to stop this, because if we don't, it could always lead to something more. And then we'll be sitting here like, dang, we messed up. We backslid. So That was the hardest thing, because it's like, well, we're engaged, you know, we can at least spend the night, but really you can't, because at the end of the day, you're still not married. You're just a girlfriend with a ring, technically.
Those boundaries.
So, exactly. So we had to set those boundaries again, being engaged. And I like that you said that, because it just goes to show that in every season of dating, you have to set new boundaries. Whether you're just meeting someone, you have to set those boundaries. Once you're actually courting, you have to set boundaries. You get engaged, you have to set new boundaries. And then in marriage, you even have to set boundaries. I mean, it can get easy to lose yourself in a marriage or in a relationship. And that's just something you don't want to do, because you lose your identity. Then you find yourself unhappy and you're just living for everybody else. So boundaries are going to always have to be set. So I think those were the two biggest struggles that I found in my single season and in my engaged period.
Did you ever get the feeling that you were going to be single forever before God sent you someone? So just like, oh my gosh, Lord, like, what's taking so long? Where is Bae?
You know
Where
what?
is he at?
That did happen. You know, it's always those like lonely nights where like you're just watching TV and everybody's asleep. You don't have anybody talking to. It's just like, is this gonna be my life forever? But I mean, if you truly put your faith in God and you pour out your heart to God and you say, God, you know, I'm serving you, I'm doing everything I can for you. You know the desires of my heart. And just to reiterate that, I'm going to tell you again, I do desire to have a family. I desire to be married. I desire to have this. So I put my faith in that. You know, me and God, we had those conversations, and I knew, I felt deep down, I'm not going to be single forever. Not to mention, I felt like I was cute. And I had a lot to bring to the table. So I did not feel like I was going to be single forever after, you know, I really sat down and was like, okay, girl, come on, let's check yourself real fast. Get out of this phase. You're just lonely right now because TV is off and ain't nothing on TV and everybody's asleep. So, you know, you just have to really talk to yourself. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. Between talking to God and, you know, reality checking yourself. You got a lot to bring to the table. You're cute. You got all of this going on. You're a great person. You're going to be okay. Someone's coming. But you got to wait on that right someone. You don't just want anyone to come knock on your door.
Yes, and I think that's so good you're saying, like, just to encourage yourself. Like, there's power in the tongue. Mm-hmm. And so if you're constantly saying negative things about yourself and always talking down on yourself, then you're going to slowly start to believe those things. And you have to keep believing in what God says that you are and not what other people say that you are.
Exactly, absolutely.
What's your advice for single women who desire to get married?
Just going based off what I've learned from experience. Like I said before, give yourself to God. If you are truly going to wait this thing out and wait on the man that God has for you, you have to give your whole self to God. Not just pray for 5-10 minutes a day and that be it. Not just have a conversation with him in the car. Not just read your Bible. And that's like, it has to be a full-on ordeal. Every aspect of your life has to be given to God. And it sounds like a lot, but it's really not. Once you find yourself in that relationship with him, you really don't even want to leave. And you start to get picky with who you allow to come into that. So when people start wanting to take you on dates and they don't look like what you've already experienced with God, it's like, no thank you. I'm okay. Like, it becomes that easy. And so first and foremost, I would say give yourself to God. So surround yourself with people that are going through the same thing you're going through. You know, we have Cultivate here at the church, and a lot of Cultivate are in that single season where it's like, okay, I want a godly marriage. So I'm going to be celibate. I'm going to do this. And so band together with people who are like-minded like that. Mm-hmm. Have people who can pour into you, who've already gone through it, who are married, who can say, you know, give you hope and give you aspirations. Like, you don't have to do all of this to get to this point. You can truly be to yourself and not have to date every single person that comes in contact with you to get to marriage. So give yourself to God, and then have that band of people that you can confide in and that'll really support you and you support them.
So how did you know your husband was the one?
You know, a lot of people would say, oh, I knew he was the one at first time I met him. I didn't. You know, I tell everybody my husband is fine. And so I automatically looked at him as, you know what, he might play me. I'm not gonna know. So once we started kind of talking, it was like, okay, he might not play me, but it's still that doubt. But about 3 weeks into us deciding we were going to date, he called me at midnight and was like, I'm about to come over. And at that point, I was like, okay, this is it, God. This ain't the one. I'm about to send him home packing. But he was going through this discipleship process at the church called Men of Joshua, MOJ. And that night, they learned about the foot washing and why Jesus did it, and, you know, so forth and so on. And so when he called me at midnight, he came over and he was, you know, said, go to the bag, you go wake up Malia, which is my daughter. And he was rustling through the kitchen looking for pots and pans and stuff. And I'm like, this man's not about to cook a meal at midnight. And I gotta be at work at 7. So, and then he already told me to wake up my baby, so I just knew he was crazy. Well, he came back to the back and was like, okay, I'm ready. And when I went up front, he had the whole setup. He had a chair for me, chair for my daughter, 2 pots of water, towels, candles lit, worship music going. And that night confirmed that he was going to be my husband. Not because of the act, but because afterwards, I was crying. I was just pouring because he had said so much that poured into me. And I was just like, oh my God, like, why did you do that? I was crying uncontrollably. But it was the hug that he gave me. Anyone who knows me knows I've had daddy issues my whole life. And so I've never had that hug, you know, from anyone I was dating that felt like more than just the guy I'm dating, you know. And in that moment that he hugged me, it was the hug that a father would give his daughter. And so to me, that was the God in him coming out to hug me. But that's what pretty much confirmed it for me. I was like, oh, this is him. This is him. Because I remember a sermon that our pastor preached on. He said, your husband or your wife is always going to be your lover, your friend, your teacher, your parent. You know, you're going to get all these different roles in that person. If you don't see these roles in that person and they're just one role to you, that's not the one. And so the fact that he had already given me, you know, boyfriend, best friend, that type of thing. But when he gave me daddy, that was something I never got from any man in my life. And so that pretty much confirmed, like, okay, he's the one.
Was there any past struggles or insecurities that you were a little scared to open up about with your husband? And if you did have any of those struggles or insecurities, how did you proceed with that conversation?
So one night we sat down, once we, you know, decided not only are we going to date, but he told me, you know, I feel like you're my wife. And I was like, okay, well, before you confirm that in your head, we got to discuss some stuff. And so one thing that I came out and told him was, because in pretty much every relationship I've been in, I've been cheated on. I don't care who it was, from my daughter's dad up until, the boy from 7th grade. I've always been cheated on. And, you know, I thought it was because I was naive or gullible or whatever, but my problem was when I date, in which a lot of women have this issue, when we date hard. We date to be your wife. So we start giving you wifely things that you don't deserve, and then you just kind of take those and then move to the little dot on the side. And so it was basically that type of situation. And so in all of that, I never felt like I was enough for a man. I felt like I can give them stay-at-home wife, cook, nurturer, all of that, but I couldn't give them that, like, other portion that they wanted. And so, you know, it was awkward because I had never told anyone. I hadn't even told my mama that I felt like I wasn't enough, because, you know, we gas each other all the time. Oh, girl, you cute. And even with feeling cute, I never felt like I was enough. And so we had to sit down and have that conversation, and you know, he affirmed me. He was like, you're more than enough. He said the reason you weren't enough for them because they weren't the right ones. He said, but I see everything you are and everything you plan to be. And I'm here to nurture that and help that grow. And so that was just like, okay, God, I hear you loud and clear. And then a struggle that I thought we would have, I do have a daughter from a previous situationship back when I was in college. And even though her dad isn't here physically, he's somewhere else in another country, but he's still a part of her life. And so I thought that would be, you know, a thing with them having to meet, and, you know, they have to start conversing now because of her. He was so easy going about it, and I mean, it just went over so smoothly. I was shocked. Like, it even got to the point he had my daughter's dad, like, calling him bro and texting him and all types of stuff. And I'm just like, who are you, you superhuman? So, I mean, those were the two things that I thought I was going to really struggle with, but he pretty much took them, he put them in his pocket, and he nurtured them, so.
Did you feel like you would be missing out on things once you got married?
I didn't. And part of that reason was because I started, doing adult things at a young age. So, like, the partying and all of that other stuff, hanging out all hours of the night, I did that at such a young age that by the time I had my daughter at 21, I was like, okay, I'm ready for the real deal. Like, I'm tired of partying. I'm tired of dating everybody. I'm tired of all this other different stuff. I'm just ready to have my family. And even with having a family, that doesn't mean, like I said, you can't be your own person. So just because you're married doesn't mean you can't still take that dance class that you want to take, or you can't still, go to this event because you're married. Either take your husband or find you a group of friends that'll still go. Like, you're still an individual at the end of the day. So I think it's just about knowing what your partner likes, what your husband or your wife likes, and then knowing if they're interested in that. If not, okay, babe, well, I'm going to go. This is my day off. I'm going to go and enjoy that. And I mean, still do you. You can still do you in a marriage. And I think that's one thing that a lot of young people don't understand is, I'm taking his last name, I got to take his whole identity. No, you don't.
Live under his shadow.
Exactly, you don't. We're two completely different people that live as one. Like, we still have our separate interests and we live our own lives, but we still live together as one unit.
It says, I enjoy being single, I really do. I know I'm not ready for a committed relationship, but sometimes I get lonely. How do you overcome feeling lonely when you're not too busy?
So again, with that, you have to date yourself. And I was so content being single. Like, when I met my husband, it wasn't one of those things like, oh, I just gotta be with you. I was so happy with where I was in my single season that it was like, do I really want to disturb my peace for him? Like, and you have to find peace. So once you have that peace, you're good. But for sure, you have to date yourself. So when life settles down and it's that, 9 o'clock at night, everybody's sleeping, you don't have anybody to talk to, take a walk. Go out to Waffle House or something. Or, watch a movie, something that interests you. Do something that's interesting to you. Because pouring into yourself and starting new things and all of that, that's how you keep your identity going. That's how you learn who you are and what you like. Like, I'm telling you, it can get hard trying to figure out those things when you're trying to balance a marriage, family, life. Like, it can be hard, but if you go ahead and start sowing those seeds into what you are and who you are, then by the time you transfer over into living life with another being who may have completely different interests, but spiritually y'all are yoked, you won't lose yourself in what they like, and they won't lose themselves in what you like. So, I would say most definitely you just have to pour into yourself, whether that's journaling, whether it's going out, whether it's just staying up and painting your nails and eating Cheetos and drinking, milkshakes all night. Whatever it is that makes you happy being you, do that.
Last question. Let's talk about love languages. So usually a wife has a different love language than her husband. And so how do you learn to identify what your love language is and what your husband's love language is, and learn to serve his love language even if it's not the same as yours?
Okay, so really glad you used the word serve, because in a marriage that's what you're doing. You're serving your spouse. So whatever needs that I have that need to be met, my husband does that, and vice versa. As far as love languages go, that's something we actually just kind of harped in on, and it honestly takes time. If you don't already know when you get married, you're gonna have to kind of figure it out as you go. We recently just sat down and had a conversation about it, and I was letting him know, babe, I need affection. Like, I found out my love language is physical touch. I like to hold hands. I like to lay on him. I like when he lays on me. I like him to rub my back and all that type of stuff. And his love language is affirmations. And I realized that because he asked me a lot, babe, am I doing good in this area? How am I in this area? Do I make you feel this type of way? And it's like, yeah, why are you asking? And he was like, I don't know, you never say anything about it. So that confirmed to me, like, okay, you need affirmations. So, it's not something that you automatically go in knowing, unless, you know, you're familiar with love languages. We weren't. So it was something we had to learn along the way. And that kind of came by, okay, yeah, I'm not getting this and I really need this. And that's when it was like, oh my God, I'm a physical touch type person. Like, you have to touch me. And so, again, it goes back to serving. You know, you let them know, hey, obviously I like physical touch. I need you to do a little bit more. So if that means 2-3 times out the week, he's laying on me, I'm laying on him, he's holding me at night, you know, whatever it may be, it's not overbearing for him. It's not making him super like, oh my God, I'm tired of doing this. But it's giving me what I need. And same thing with affirmations. I don't have to every day, oh babe, you're doing great, you're doing great, you're doing great. You know, 2 or 3 times out the week, I let him know how he's doing around the house. And it just, you know, it gives him something to go on for the rest of the week. And even if you're not the type of person that you can affirm out loud, write it down. Just writing a note and leaving it with their lunch or on the counter that says babe. You know, they read it and they're seeing how you feel. It makes them feel really good about themselves and about what they're doing for you. So, I mean, love languages, you have to be comfortable being able to talk about them. But at the same time, what you know about them, being able to serve that person in the area they need most. It's just like oxygen. You can't deprive the person you love of oxygen. If that's something they need, then you have to supply it.
Right, guys. Well, that concludes our Q&A with Mrs. Forte. I'm so happy that you came and you did this with us. I mean, like, we really, like, I've learned something from this. So I'm hoping that whoever's watching this, that you learned something from it and that you can take and use it for your single season, something that can inspire you. So how can we get a little bit more information about y'all's apparel that y'all have?
We do have a apparel label called God First Label. You can find us on Instagram at God First Label, just as is. And it's also under my Instagram, so you can follow my personal Instagram as well. It's at Loriell, Loriell, Forte, Forte, 41. And you'll see like the link to the website, godfirstlabel.com and all of that. We have t-shirts, hats, you know, that sort of thing. And we plan on expanding, but you know, it takes time. We just got married, so it'll come. But we do have merchandise now, so feel free to shop around. And then I'm also the author of a blog. So if you would like to follow that as well, it's the Fruition, Fruition, Fruition Christian blog on Instagram. And I also have that page in my personal Instagram as well. So feel free to follow whichever. If you have questions, comments, burning desires, whatever, feel free to leave it under there, DM me. And I promise you, I love answering questions. These questions, I literally was like marking days till I got here to answer them. Y'all put some thought into these questions, and I really appreciate the feedback that we got in the questions that y'all left. So thank you.
Yes, thank you guys for asking these really dope questions, and thank you again, Loriell, for joining us.
Thanks for having me, sis.
Thank you. I love this girl. She's awesome. Her testimony, everything is just amazing. So that concludes our video for today. Make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe.
Please subscribe, y'all. She posts some really dope videos.
Thank you.
Please. And she's funny. She's real funny.
I'm goofy, y'all.
So please subscribe to her channel. I'm subscribed. Subscribe. Listen, you won't regret it.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So we will catch y'all on the next video.
Deuces.
See y'all later.